Can you see the bugs now?
Yeah,
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
Yeah.
Welcome to Actual.
He's John Perkis.
And he is Dr. Ed Hope from Dr. Ed Hope's Sick Notes.
Close enough.
Dr. Hope's Sick Notes.
And we're at Camp Wildfire.
And that is a festival in Kent, in the UK. And Ed runs a board game tent there. And he's been running it for 6 years. He knows his games.
I haven't been constantly there for 6 years. It's just one weekend a year.
Okay.
Oh my God, the bugs, mate.
Yeah,
I'm feeling them.
I never feel them on me, but I feel like itchy at all times.
Do you think we can do it with the bugs?
I'm questioning it. Shall we call it?
Let's call it.
We did a great start.
Hello.
Welcome back to Camp Wildfire. This is 3 days later.
Yeah, and we've already tried to shoot this video once.
And we got bitten by flies. So we have come out of the forest into a clearing. And now, after teaching board games for 3 nights and days, we're a bit tireder. But we're going to tell you about the top 10 best games to play at Camp Wildfire or any festival in a tent.
I mean, very niche.
Yeah.
But let's do it.
Yeah, what's the criteria? So, I mean, we'll stop for a sec.
That is hilarious.
But before we talk about the games, maybe some honourable mentions.
I think one of the ones that surprised me was, have you heard of chess?
Yeah.
It's having a bit of a renaissance, I think, because of the Queen's Gambit. I don't normally get requests for chess, but, you know, that was one that people would come up and ask for, which I've never had before. So in like 6 years, I think I had one person play chess. And this time, we had a few people every day.
Yeah, we had some real fans this time. There was one guy that was sort of sat there teaching someone else some moves, and they were like really getting into it.
But that guy is then going to absolutely dick on the other player.
Yeah, probably. They seem to be having fun, so good on them.
Uno, Connect Four, Jenga. Guess Who. Yeah.
These are ones that we wouldn't necessarily recommend, but people love them, so they can just grab it and play themselves. The fun thing about this tent, and people tend to appreciate, is that we'll teach you a game. So, like, you don't have to know any of the rules, and you don't even have to like check the rules of a game you know. So we'll come over and teach it to you, and then you get to experience something new. But if you don't want something new, well, you can just pick up those ones. So they're not in the top 10 because we didn't tend to recommend them, but they were played a few times over the weekend.
We also kind of had a bunch of games that we wouldn't teach because the teach is probably a little bit much, and these are games that I would typically play myself, but we also had them for more hobby board gamers that could see them, like Avalon, Coup, Love Letter.
The worst feeling in the world is when you teach a game and then you catch them looking at the rule book later and you've let them
my
down.
Heart goes, man. Yeah.
And then there's just a few other games that almost made the top 10. Like, they got played a lot, but not enough to get into the top 10. So Wavelength, great group game that got played a bunch of times, and Color Brain is another one. Especially this weekend, you set it up so we had tables that would take 6, 8, 10 players. So we didn't have as much 2 to 4 players. And that's the great thing about this festival, is everyone just makes friends with other people. You don't need to know anyone, so you'll just get 1 or 2 people coming in on their own. We'll just add them on to a group game.
You know, you set a group up on one of these games. I mean, let's say Wavelength, so we don't spoil the top 10. And then a few minutes later, you just hear this big roar of 8 people, all of which, you know, don't really know each other, and they've kind of connected within that moment. I mean, what other thing can you do when a bunch of people within a few minutes are just having that fun? So
that's what's so good about this tent is, like, Ed's been doing it for 6 years now, and people come back every year and they know other people in the tent just from previous festivals. It's just like no other gaming situation I've ever played in.
And it's a bit of an epiphany moment for a lot of people. Like, how many did we have come back this year from previous festivals that basically said, we've got a board game cupboard now?
Yeah.
And they never really had one. And they're like, oh, we've got this game, this game, this game. And now we've just experienced this. We're going to get that. It's almost, we're doing our bit.
Well, this is like Ed's influence over, because I think, where do you start with board games? Like, you need a friend or somebody to like hook you on that first game. And so you might never get that experience. And so this is the perfect place. People are adding things to their Amazon wish list like during the festival.
Yeah.
Number 10 is Anomia. It's a good shouty one.
Donald Trump!
Very easy to teach. And you teach as you go as well, which is, I definitely was leaning towards games where you can just start them off and just like point it all out as you're going on.
And it has those moments as well where of that roar of laughter or people getting frustrated, because you could just, you set them up and then you hear a few minutes later you hear people jumping up and down.
Jesus Christ! Chill out, Helen.
Fuck this game!
Anomia is actually one that people would come into the tent and know. People that like Dobble tended to like Anomia. I feel like it's a step up from it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 9, we put Herd Mentality, one from Big Potato.
Yeah.
I mean, just the Big Potato brand is kind of very in keeping with that social, fun party. And this was a great one that people, once we got it to the table, you know, because I think not many people knew it, but once we introduced people, a sign of a good game is they pop into the board game lounge for 10 minutes and they're playing it an hour later.
Yeah, we had people playing it on the first night and then they come back and like, what's that pink cow game that we played last night? And so I think they probably
called it
like,
that.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good for people that don't know each other because you're like kind of challenging those differences between you. And we had like one which was like, what's the best Tom Hanks film? And what was great, I played that like 2 nights in a row, that same question. And both times it was Forrest Gump, but the second one was Castaway, which like threw me a bit. And someone said The Terminator. And they got Tom Hanks confused with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was something. And so they got the pink cow. And it's just like, there's something special. Like, the game in itself is great, but just being given the pink cow of shame just takes it up a notch. And the way it passes around and you don't want it, I think just people just instantly click with that idea.
It's a game that is played up above the table, not down here. So everyone's, as soon as they get the question, they're thinking in their mind, but then they have to look at everyone else and form, I mean, let's face it, a bit of a judgment.
We had a guy that, the question was, what is the best number of children to have? And so everyone did it, and like everyone wrote 2, except for this guy who wrote 0, and he like refused to think like the herd. He just wanted to say, no, that is the best number.
Did he have a disgruntled partner with him?
Yeah, that's the thing. So his partner said 2, and he said 0. They were quite young. I think they'll be fine. But
And also the real acid test of this, we had people asking for this game who hadn't even played it. So someone else had told them about the game at the festival.
Yeah.
You imagine that, like on the dance floor. Mate, go check out Herd Mentality in the board game. Like, all right.
Number 8 is Crazy Eggs. This is from your first
an
ever
OG.
festival. Yeah, OG game.
Yeah, so original dancing eggs. I kind of used to tweak the rules a bit, which have almost become the ones for Crazy Eggs. Because one of the original rules in dancing eggs is running around the table. And obviously, if you did that in the board games, like no chance. And now it's just jump up and do a John Travolta move.
When the weather was good, like people were out on the blankets playing this one, and it's better in a big space.
But it kind of works because it is, you know, it's a game for kids. When people drop in, it's a bit of a drinking game. They can chat about the activities they've just done at the festival, the night they've just had, and it's just a fun game. No one's going to take it too seriously, and that's why it kind of works. And also, when I'm sort of doing the teach, I never explain where you store your egg, you know, because you roll 1 dice, you win the egg, and I never explain why you store your egg, and I say, right, let's just play the first round, and I always try and win the first round. or if someone else wins, I'll then go, right, cool, you've won your egg, now roll that dice. And then they roll it, and then it's the crowd go, ooh, oh, you've got to put it between your knees.
I think that's true for almost every game that we love to teach. Is there's that ooh moment. You have a small patter early on, and then there's just a moment when the game clicks in that first practice round, and everyone just loves it, and you know that you picked the right game for them.
Crazy Eggs is definitely like the fast food of the games we had, as in, you know, it's kind of instantly satisfying, but you're not going to come back and see people 2 hours later.
Right.
I mean, if you did, that'd be pretty impressive. Number 7, Hey, That's My Fish. Good little, bit different to the other games we've had, because it has that kind of strategic element. I know it is, you know, it's no Blood Rage.
It looks like a children's game.
But then it's got a bit of meatiness, a bit more than, you know, your crazy eggs. It's quite a simple teach, and it has a little bit of scalability, working 2 to 4. So you can often get a couple, you know, 2 couples that have, you know, don't really know each other, just getting them to, you know, have a chat amongst themselves on the table and the game's going on. So it's not one of those ones that I said before that I really like, where the game's played up here and, you know, it's very much like people can chat about other things and then just have this kind of game going on in the background. It
takes up a small space on the table. That's the other kind of requirement. And we can teach it easily. So we have 1 or 2 other games that didn't make the list, like Onitama and Santorini in the tent.
And I've previously had Suro as well. But they're all just slightly bigger, maybe slightly more complex to teach, and maybe didn't have that scale up to, Suro does, but the sort of 2 to 4 kind of spot.
Hey, That's My Fish and the last one, Crazy Eggs, are 2 games that I've played myself and like wouldn't have them in my home collection, but they're like perfect for this situation because they're, just so simple to get into. Number 6 is Codenames. Probably my favorite game that we have in the tent, but it's a little bit harder to teach, hence why it's like a bit lower down the list. And Codenames is like the ultimate team game if you're a bit competitive and you want to get stuck into something. And if you can get past the rules, which like are not that bad, but it's just in this environment, then you're hooked then at that point, and you're probably going to play multiple games. And that's what we love about it, right?
It's just the ultimate. I mean, you could probably run the whole board game lounge on the next games if you just have multiple copies of the next game. But this is one you would definitely need, because I mean, I've had it, not this year, but I've had it where I've set up a game of Codenames in the morning, say like midday, 1 o'clock, and it's still going on at 10 p.m. Okay, totally different players, but people are just subbing in and out through the whole day. People are going to watch this because they're big fans of board games, and I think you're saying that Codenames is hard to teach. But these are people that have never played board games before, and often you're teaching all 8 of them. None of them have played the game before. And it's those little rules, like you can guess 1 more than what you've been said. So it is that little bit of a teach, but it's well worth the payoff just to spend that, you know, 10 minutes playing the first couple rounds with them, and they're just away with it. And it's actually the only game that we played this whole weekend.
We played it on Sunday, like last minute. Oh, I came in with a 5 clue. Smashed it.
I was fuming.
Like, because I play Codenames a lot, so I really wanted to like show my prowess. And then he won it. And I screwed it up on like the last clue.
We've had a whole weekend of seeing people play games, but that was still had that tension of us playing.
It never gets boring in terms of like trying to come up with a clue. Never gets easy. It's always like I love that challenge.
But this had those moments, you know, where you'd hear that roar. Once one team won, or even just got the, you know, 3 clues, you know, for the first time in there. And it just worked really well. And so many people afterwards would kind of, as they're walking out the lounge, they'd like literally look you to your soul and be like, that was such a good game. We're definitely buying that. You're like, all right, nice.
I would say you've probably sold a few copies of Codenames in your time.
Yeah, right.
But I reckon our number 1 on this list, you're gonna sell even more. Like if you're like a gaming merchant, and you're getting none of the profit.
Number 5. I mean, we have to include it, even though, again, it's a game I've never even played.
Really?
No, it's Dobble.
The thing we found with Dobble is that loads of people knew it.
Of course, that was why it was here. You know, we wouldn't necessarily go to it, but it was the one where they'd look at these games, and sometimes they'd be a bit bewildered because they wouldn't recognise anything. Because they'd be like, I like board games, and they'll look, and people would be thinking, I don't really recognise it. And then Dobble would like jump out to them like a beacon, and they'd be like, I love Dobble, and then it's just that kind of moment they feel more sort of part of the thing. Even though we then happily teach them something else that they... and we saw some great games, people leaping up and down, playing Dobble.
Boom!
Dobble would be one that I think people would just come back to, like when they couldn't be bothered to learn a new one, they'd be like, oh yeah, we know Dobble, let's just go for more Dobble. And I would be surprised by its addictiveness. Like, They just want to go and go on it.
And the only reason I brought it this year was because people would ask for it every year. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not here to sort of just play the games that I think you should play.
Yeah,
you know, you
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
have to at some point let people decide on what, you know, people get enjoyment out of that, and that's cool.
I think it must be one of like the more like recent games that has gone like fully mainstream.
Yeah.
Especially in this country. I don't know what it's like in Europe or America, but.
And also, it's got the claim to fame of which no other game has had on this list, that it was the only game that someone nicked.
Yeah.
So they liked it that much.
Yeah, exactly. Popular game.
So yeah, we had to get a last-minute Amazon Prime delivery to get another one.
But as it goes, like, if you're gonna steal a game, steal the cheapest one. We appreciate that, you know? I'm glad you didn't steal one of my prized possessions. And number 4 is Rhino Hero, which is another OG game, right?
Was fun, yeah.
At one point, this was just the Rhino Hero tent, back in the olden times.
Yeah, and it's weird how many games have sort of come in since then. It's almost like, how did we deal with some of the other ones?
Yeah.
But yeah, Rhino Hero's been there from the start. He's almost like the emblem. I'm going to get the tattoo this year.
Yeah, Rhino Hero is one of those ones that is great for 2 people coming in. You kind of offer them 2 games, one which is further up this list, and Rhino Hero, and it's, do they want to like think a little bit and play a game that's a bit challenging, or do they just want silly like fun? And that's what Rhino Hero offers. And you just say it's like reverse Jenga, and they get it. And you prefer it to Jenga, why?
100%, because no setup. I mean, how fiddly has Jenga been, particularly in this tent? The number of times it's fallen out, or the bits get knocked over while they're setting it up. Rhino Hero, you know, doesn't have that. You just set it up from the beginning, and also it's just got a bit more charm than Jenga, you know? And it looks kind of more impressive when it's done. I think we had sort of level, well, this year I think about level 12 was where it would peak out, but don't forget people are playing on a wonky table in a field.
Yeah.
Right in the middle. I've had like 12 people playing this game, which sounds ridiculous, but what we'd do is we wouldn't have, you know, you hold the cards in your hands like this. You'd just draw the next level, and that would be the one going on. And also, when we had this massive bunch of people, we basically they just put one item on each, which I'm sure the game developer is just like,
one item?
Yeah, so like you either just do one wall and the next person does a wall, the next person, because there was like so many people. And actually this was the one that went crazy high, and the lady basically had like this roof to put on, and she went to brace herself and just blew it over.
No,
and the clip went on Camp Wildfire, the Facebook group, a couple of years ago, and like loads of people liked it, because it's just this, because with all those people gathering around, everyone's like sat back from the table, like, you know, you get this natural thing where you don't want to be near it, and then she ends up just blowing it over.
Nightmare.
It was great.
We had people playing this last night about 11 in the evening. Bear in mind, it gets pretty cold.
And bear in mind, DJ Yoda is currently playing, and they'd prefer to come and play. I mean, I would.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, DJ Yoda playing on the main stage, and people are outside because they couldn't fit in the tent because we were so busy. And we set up like a tiny little table for them to play Rhino Hero outside, and the wind was favourable apparently.
And it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
There you go. That's got to be the most. If you know of any more extreme place someone's played Rhino Hero, I want to know about it.
Yeah. But that's something to mention, is just the willingness to play games. We're already a bit amazed that you're at this amazing festival and they just want to play board games. That in itself is great. Like, we love that. And so in the evening, that's by far our busiest time. Everyone's done with like the activities of the day, and then, well, they just want to play board games. And our tent gets rammed by sort of 8 or 9 o'clock, and we have like queues out the door. But then Ed's got a few rugs that we laid out, and basically no matter how cold it got, people were out there in their like festival gear, so like shorts and t-shirt, playing until midnight.
But as we said before, this is kind of like the people have spoken on this, because the first year I did it, we opened 9 till 6, because during the day this festival has activities, and we were just an activity to do, like more of a chilled activity. And then by 6 o'clock though, we were the busiest we've been all day. And I'd said, well, let's just keep it open. And then we realised that in the evening, like 8 p.m, 10 p.m, midnight, it turns into a big rowdy pub. And you have those moments that we've said many times on this video where people go screaming.
Yeah.
And it's like England scoring the World Cup. The beers go flying because someone's just won some games. Ryder Hero works for that because at some point everyone will be playing their game and then someone will be like, look at that. And then everyone will look over and someone's trying to do like the level 12 and like almost the whole tent gets involved and you do the whole thing whee once it comes crashing down.
Last weekend we had a Rhino Hero tower fall off and the wall fell into a pint.
Really?
Yeah. Didn't tell you that one.
Number 3, another big potato game, Scrawl. And I was a bit late to the party on this one because I'd played Telestrations before, but Scrawl, so much of the humour is in those cards, and that, for a festival like this and meeting new people, that kind of a bit controversial or taboo or
just adult, yeah.
And then we got Ride Me Cowboy.
I always surprise myself by then picking up the card and say, for example, I have to draw, and then I'd read it out, and it'd always just make me laugh as well to see what I'm going to say. And the last one I had, or the last game I taught, and it was photocopying your balls. And I was like, brilliant. And because they're all ready to play this, you know, sort of whatever. And I said, you know, this is the level we're dealing with. And everyone was like, they liked it. They kind of were like, right, I've got this. The core game itself is an absolute winner. And people don't mind that it's not competitive or whatever. They just want a bit of silliness. And yeah, again, roaring with laughter, proper bellyache laughter from tables doing stuff.
We're getting to the point in this list now where like, we got 2 copies of Scrawl?
Yeah.
Or 3?
Yeah.
And they're just out the whole evening and they'll just move around. And so you'll get certain points where people want it and there isn't one. And we've got maybe, I don't know, like 8 groups or something going on. And there are loads of other options, but of course when someone's played it on a previous night or they know it, and Scrawl's definitely one that has kind of crossed over a bit, like people come and they know it without having played it here kind of thing. Number 2 is The Mind, which is definitely one of our favourite games to teach. And if somebody comes in, they're 2 players, that's the game we recommend basically. You just say, it's a game where you have to read each other's minds. And when you give that description, people always pick that game, I find.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's unlike any other game as well.
Yeah.
And I think people think they're not going to get it. And then I frequently play first 2 rounds with them. And more often than not, it goes really well.
Yeah.
Suddenly they're like, oh, and then they're like leaning in ready to see how far they can get.
The game totally sells itself. You just deal a card and you barely have had to say anything. And you just like, you've got a sense when to play this card. And when they get it right, that you can see it just feels incredible for them. People are playing this one over and over again and they're trying to beat their score.
And we often get, people together that don't know each other, so someone's playing it, or then get other people to introduce it to them. And how much does it play on the box? Up to 5?
4.
4?
Yeah,
wow, we've definitely had 5 or maybe
and
even
6. Definitely 6, yeah.
Playing on that, yeah. And I do kind of keep it simple and roll the rules in. I don't necessarily use the Ninja Stars.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about your Dr. House rules.
Dr. House. People think it's to do with Hugh Laurie now.
Because Ed has, over the years, he's like introduced all these rules to make the game simpler to teach. And at first I was a bit skeptical because, you know, I'm a purist. But actually, like when you're teaching a game so many times, you realize it doesn't matter. They still get the same joy. So yeah, the throwing stars are the perfect example. This, you know, extra bit of the mind. And I was teaching it. Look, I probably taught the game 10 times and I would always put in that rule. Then you said you never bother, and so I just tried it. And yeah, you still get the joy of the game. Like, okay, you're not gonna get as far, you're not gonna do a top score, but you still get the core, like, meat of the mind, you still have a great experience. And that's just what the tent's about. And then if you love the game, you'll buy it, you'll get home and read the rules and be like, oh, those dicks taught me the wrong rules. And then, great, you'll have an even better time and you've got like a new level to reach. One of the things I wanted to mention about The Mind, but also a lot of these games, is how much fun it is to see people experiencing it for the first time. Because I remember playing it for the first time and I played it like all evening at a convention and I was just obsessed with it. And so they're just going through what I went through like a few years ago. And it's just really nice to remember what those feelings are like. And just kind of share that love of something that you have.
It's like watching your favourite film with someone that's never seen it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You feel differently about the film because someone else is next to you experiencing it.
Yeah.
And the Mind definitely has that. And I love the fact people don't know each other and then they're just high-fiving and like proper experiencing these.
Yeah, the Mind and our number one game are the best for like bringing a group together and you really feel like you achieve something.
Number one, I mean, it's almost nominative determinism. Just one.
Yes.
The game that, weirdly enough, I kind of think, how did I ever run the festival without this? I just said run the festival. I don't run the festival.
How did he?
Promoted myself.
Yeah, I mean, you do run the, mate, it all happens in this tent.
Sure. This is one we definitely scale up because it just works so well. And
it's the best one to teach. If you're feeling a bit tired, like, you know, Ed will do like a 12-hour shift in this tent. It's open from 12 noon to midnight. And if you're feeling it like later in the day, especially after a heavy night on the Friday, you don't want to be trying to teach Spyfall or something, but Just One it's such a dream. It's like the most simple game, and yet they still have the best time with it and play it forever. So it just fits all of the things we've been talking about. People love it. It has that wow moment.
Yeah.
You teach it in a practice round. I literally just give a card, say pick a number between 1 to 5. You will write on your whiteboard one word to give that, give a clue for that, and then you got it. Close your eyes, show your things. Oh, you match, cross it out, show them the thing. You got one guess. That's it, that's the game. It's so easy.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they get it right, which they tend to do on that first one.
Legends!
That's the wow moment, and then they're hooked. And it's different as well. People aren't used to playing cooperatively, so working together.
And it's funny what you were saying is that about the game could go on forever. It's like you say, each one is like a mini game, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't really end. Is there an end thing with it?
Yeah. I remember someone saying, like, I played that 2.5 hours last night. It was a bit much. But I think once you're locked into a group and there's like 10 of you and maybe 8 of them are still loving it, then you get taken along for the ride.
But also, I kind of forgot how much almost pressure there is, and in a good way, when it's your turn to guess.
Yeah.
You know, I always thought the game was about writing and then matching, but you know, it comes around often enough that everyone's looking at you. You've got this quiet moment, and you've just got to say one thing. And I've seen it go both ways, and it's just, that is funny.
Yeah.
It's a good leveler for people. You can't really, you know, some games you can't really have someone dominate the game because of the way it plays out, and it's such a communal experience.
It brings a group together like no other. Code names, like there's rivalry, but
someone can dominate code names, can't they?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But in a group setting, and the shy people will end up seeing
That's
that.
a really good point.
You can't do that with Just One.
Yeah.
You have your moment. You're writing stuff in secret.
Yeah. You're all contributing. You're all important. One of the things that Ed told me at the start was that you can answer any rules question to Just One with the name of the game. So it's like, how many words can I write? Just one. How many guesses do I get? Just one. Yeah.
But we still have people who sometimes write two, and I'm like, dude.
We have got many examples of where like we'll be like across the tent from each other, and I'll just like point at someone, and they've got their whiteboards up, and they've like written a line under, or they've got like hyphenated, and they're just You're just cheating yourself, guys.
Can we just also, for Just One, we could add the Ed's house rule. So I basically say, and it's weird because it doesn't scale properly, but I always say to them, the aim of the game is to have the perfect round. So for everyone to get on their turn, get it right, and no one to get it wrong. And I just throw that in because sometimes it can feel a bit aimless.
Yeah.
Although each round's fun, it's like, what are we kind of working towards? And it also builds to a bit of a crescendo. So I've seen people, I know it only supports up to 7, but I've seen people in this group of 8, it's down to the last person. There's multiple matches, and they've just got a few left, and it's like,
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. And
I think you need that. That's maybe like the one flaw of Just One is like the card thing is a bit boring, and then you get a score at the end and you look at the back of the rule book and it tells you how well you did. It's like, no, you want like a big finish, or you want something big to aim for, and if you pull it off, great, and if you don't, well, you do it next time.
Yeah. We had 3 copies of this. We probably could have had another couple more.
Yes.
And what we were saying earlier, we had at one point 2 groups playing just one next to each other. We were teaching other games, came back, and they'd combined to form this. It was like Power Rangers coming together, this giant. And how does a game that is built like that it does scale?
It does still work, yeah.
I mean, it creaks a bit,
but
it does still work.
Yeah. We've hit an hour. It's still recording.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
So there you have it.
Shut it down.
So there you have it. We've just spent an hour in what arguably we could have done in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
This is the new long form content.
Yeah. We won't edit this.
It's like a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, do edit some of it.
No, I will. Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah,
we won't edit this. No, I will.
Yeah. No, they're going to be watching it being like, an hour, like this video lasted 5 minutes and there was nothing good in it.
It'd be like they've managed to cut out. Yeah, exactly.
The other thing that I've just wanted to mention here is how great the tent is for reminding you that games are for everyone. And when you're a board gamer, and I go along to board game meetups in London and to board game conventions, can get kind of locked into an idea that there is a gamer, whereas you come here and everyone's playing games, all different ages. We had just a completely balanced gender mix in the tent, and it's just, that's really heartening to see. And you just don't get that in a more super keen board game group. I wish I knew how to replicate this kind of thing in real life, because even board game cafes can't do it.
We had a lot of people that were board gamers, so we're in the know, and they really did their bit as well in bringing people along. You'd have these people that would pick up a game like Coup and say, oh, do you guys not know it? And they would teach and save us a big teach on a meaty game that we wouldn't normally teach, and they would introduce people, and it worked. We've got to end just complimenting, saying a massive thanks to everyone that came down to Wildfire. I mean, it isn't just the board game lounge. We like to think we're just a part of a huge team across the whole event. I mean, thank you so much to the organisers for letting us come down and being part of it. So many other activities happening here. From paddle boarding to
quad biking, water slide.
More crafty stuff as well, like loom weaving.
I did creative writing and ukulele playing, and I was in a choir. I did letterpress, which is using old printing presses.
And I did some capoeira as well. And then in the evening, there was just big old music. And just all around, just a great vibe just to kind of hang out, walk around the forest, nice bit of camping. And yeah, it was a real pleasure to be part of it and to kind of bring those little moments of games just to add to people's festival.
And I mean, the people, as well as me, need to thank Ed for creating this amazing tent. He brings sofas in a van so that people get to sit on sofas instead of benches. There's oil paintings on the wall that he bought from a charity shop and is kept for 6 years. It's got this perfect setting that just creates a vibe you need, and you're sat on hay bales with blankets on.
It's got a certain charm, hasn't it? Yeah. People buy into it.
And also, thanks to Ed, thank you for coming on the channel to talk about stuff.
That is so funny because John has helped me for the last 2 weekends, John and Serena, and man, I literally could not have got anywhere close to doing it. Man, you guys helped out so much, teaching and you just got it as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of got the vibe of it, and we're just straight in, and
it's a buzz. There's something about teaching games that you love to people that are having a great time. You get high off it. I mean, you wouldn't do it forever.
Yeah, right.
As people in board game cafes probably attest to. Yeah. But it's in this setting, it's just amazing.
And also you had a couple people checking out your video that had seen the channel. They were and they're like, just didn't think it would be you. They just don't expect to see you.
Yeah, I had a number of people that, I play all weekend with them. I teach them loads of games. And then they like, how do you know all these games? I'll be like, oh, I've got a YouTube channel. And then I like, what is it called? And I say it. It's like, oh yeah, I've seen that. It's like, but I'm right here. Like, it's the same face.
Yeah. Each video is literally my face and a game, which is what you're experiencing right now. And you have it, yeah.
So when am I coming onto your channel to do top 5 catheters?
Well, yeah.
We'll work on
do
it.
you have a top 5?
Well, I need to work on that, you know. Right, I'm John Perkis.
I'm Ed Hope.
Thanks for watching.
Woo! Oh my God.